Hey, happy Tuesday, CCA or intermediate algebra students. Today I'm going to move as quickly as I can through this one, but this is probably the most complex, or this is the most complex we get as far as completing the square goes. So I've got two different types of problems that you'll be seeing as you're doing this con today. So pay close attention. Hopefully, if you paid close attention yesterday, this will go a little easier for you as well. Before I get started, one thing I want to cover before we cover this, how to do this problem right here, I just need you to understand something. I think this will make sense to you. If 0 equals 0, and I add 5 to the left side and then add 5 to the right side, I really haven't changed the fact that the left side equals the right side. I think you would all agree that 5 would equal 5. So when I add one thing to one side and I add the same thing to the other side, I don't change the equation at all. So with that being said, let's take a look at this equation. Actually, I'm going to do one little thing first here. Bear in mind with me, I'll give it just a little shading so I know where it's at. I want to be able to go through this one at a time, so I'm going to do that little thing right there. Okay, so let's start off. We're just going to rewrite that equation right there. There we go. You can see there's something trying to peek its way through there. So here's the equation right here. So I've got 2x squared minus 9x plus 7, which is just our equation from above. So first step is I need to subtract 7 from both sides. So I need to get rid of this 7 from this side, because in order to get into a perfect square form, I'm going to have a new c term for this one, if that makes sense to you. So I'm going to have to get a new c term, so I might as well get rid of the old c term so we can put in a new correct new c term. Now, the problem is, before I can do this, you might notice I've got 2 as a coefficient right here. We don't want 2 to be our coefficient. So you're going to notice on this next step that in order to not have a 2 as my coefficient right here, I divided everything by 2. Okay, so now my coefficient of x squared is just simply a 1, which is what we want. So now it's going to be far easier to find out what my new correct c term should be. It's going to be, if you remember, my b term divided by 2 squared. So what is negative 4.5 divided by 2? You might say that it's negative 2.25. And what is negative 2.25 squared? Hopefully you came up with 5.0625. So when I took half of this term and squared it, this is what I got. So that is my new correct c term, what it should be. But if I'm going to add 5.0625 to the left side, it only makes sense I must also add that exact same amount to the right side. So I haven't changed the equation at all here. But what I've done now is I've made this side a perfect square. So we can take the square root of this, the square root of this, and then take the sign in front of the b term, and that equals this right here. So again, square root of this for here, square root of this for here, and the sign in front of the b term goes right here. You'll notice on this side, I just took negative 3.5 plus 5.0625, and that equals 1.5625. Now, you might notice that is in the perfect order of what we're looking for up here, which means we're done. This term right here, the negative 2.25, make sure you include that negative, goes right there, and this positive 1.5625 goes right here. Hopefully that makes sense. Rewatch that a couple times if you need to. Okay, now for the other side. Now we're going to complete the square. You're going to notice the format on this one is just slightly different. Okay, everything is being done on just one side of the equation. So I need to do a little math for you and make sure you're okay with this as well. We're going to start with our 0 equals 0 again. But now I'm going to add to this side 2 times 2.5. What is 2 times 2.5? You might say, oh, that would be positive 5. So it's really like I added 5. Well, if I add 5 and then I subtract 5, did I really add anything to the right side? Answer should be no, I really didn't. So whenever you add something to one side and then subtract the exact same number from that side, you have not changed the equation at all. But by doing so, you can manipulate formula. So let's see how that looks on this one. I'm going to pull my little shaded area over here. Can't quite remember where I started with. It's got to be here somewhere. There it is. All right. Now that we got this, so notice I'm just not writing down the g of x. I'm not concerned about it because I'm not going to be doing anything on this side of the equal sign the entire way through. So we're going to start with our original equation, 2x squared minus 7x plus 5. So first step that I'm going to do, you're going to notice that I'm putting this immediately into kind of a perfect square form by just adding parentheses. But I don't like the c term they gave me, so I'm just going to take what they gave me for my c term, and I'm going to move that to the right side of the parentheses, right there. Haven't changed a thing, just moved it over to the right side of the parentheses. I know some of you right now, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Just hang with me here, and let's just kind of trust the process here. Okay, so now we need to do something, but the problem is, do you notice our a term here is a 2? We don't want 2 to be our a term. Remember over here, we got rid of that 2 by dividing by 2? Well, we're going to take a 2 out of these things, but we're only going to take it out of those things inside the parenthesis. Okay, so here's what that looks like. I took the 2 out of here. I took the 2 out, I divided this by 2, I divided this by 2. There was nothing here to divide by 2, so it stays as nothing. Okay, just remember though, what I add back in here, I'm actually multiplying by 2. Kind of like if I added in a 2.5 and multiply by 2, it equals 5 up here. And then I can add a negative 5 to there to cancel it. If that didn't make sense, ignore what I just said. All right, so here's what we got. So I took a 2 out of this term, I took a 2 out of this term. Because I had already moved that term outside the parentheses, I don't have to take a 2 out of that, because that was no longer a part of the parentheses. Now, because I'm in this form now, I can now find my perfect c term. I can do that by taking half of negative 3.5, which is negative 1.75. So when I take negative 1.75 times negative 1.75, I get 3.0625. Go ahead and do that on a calculator. Negative 1.75 times negative 1.75. You'll notice it equals 3.0625. So I'm adding 3.0625 inside the parentheses to make what's inside the parentheses here a perfect square. You will notice as I added 3.0625, I subtracted 6.125. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, but those don't equal. Well, they actually do, because remember, whatever is inside this parenthesis that I just added, I need to multiply by the number on the outside of that. So what is 2 times 3.0625? You're going to find out that I actually added 6.125. Well, if I added, because of these two, 6.125, then I need to also subtract 6.125. Haven't changed the equation a bit. I've changed the equation, but I haven't changed what it equals one bit by doing that. I simply added 6.125 and I subtracted 6.125. Now that I'm in this form, okay, the 2 will stay. The 2 stays. This square root is x. This square root is 1.75, and the sign in front of my b term is a negative. When I add these two together, I get a negative 1.125. So 2 goes right there. Negative 1.75, and make sure you include the negative, goes right here. And negative 1.125 goes right here, and make sure you include the negatives. Anytime there's a negative, include it. Hey, this one, guys, may require you to watch video more than one time. This one, guys, may require you to actually ask me for help. And when you do ask me for help on Google Hangouts, please send me a screenshot of what it looks like. More than likely, I'm just going to call you and try and help you through this one. This is probably the most difficult completing the squares, but I will tell you, once you get done with this, you're going to be in really, really strong shape for completing the square. So thanks, guys, and hope you have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.